Oh, hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us with Table Talk. It's myself, Fernando, with Amendada's Insurance, and then we also have Anthony Cortino. Anthony, please introduce yourself.
Sure. Anthony Cortino with Be the Lead in Your Life Consulting.
Well, Anthony, we had a lot of good catching up since we were coming off of the Thanksgiving break, and it's like a
And a
lot has
couple of weeks
happened.
more too. Like I think it's been like 3 weeks since we've actually
Yeah,
done
it's been
this.
a
Yeah.
while. It's been a while. I mean, for those that are watching or, just listening for the first time, we try to keep this on a regular basis, but we try to bring some good value, good conversations. And what we're finding is, there's not a whole lot of people we can lean on sometimes when it comes to some of the inner thoughts we have. And maybe they call it struggles, right, Anthony? But really, it's okay to be at that point where, I've been wrestling with this and it feels uncomfortable. And so with that being said, you and I, we were talking about how when stresses happen, which they do, right? Where
Hmm.
we're encountering stresses with it, whether it's work, whether it's with relationships, our partner, children, if we have children or whatever the case is, finances, right? That we deal with stresses every day, but how we handle stresses, that can vary. So what are your thoughts on that, Anthony?
So if I focus on the last part, you talked. So let's focus on the question you said at the end there. The stresses and how we handle them. Is that right?
Yeah.
We'll make sure that we're clear because we're going deep today. I can feel it.
Yeah.
So the way we react to stress, I have no problem with any way we react to stress. My concern is how long we let that reaction happen.
Mm.
Right?
Okay.
Because again, recurring theme, I think we talked about this before on the call, whatever I resist persists, right? That's in the Bible, that's in everything, right? It's all in different versions of that. But what if I resist something, it persists. So if my genuine reaction to my feelings is to get angry, get sad, feel fear, feel shame, all the things, right, that we
Yeah.
say are negative,
Right.
right? By observing someone behaving that way, no, they're all valid, right?
Yeah.
They're all valid. If I resist it, i.e., hide it, right, compartmentalize it, and that's not appropriate right now, kind of behavior. Well, what happens is it gets buried in the body and it becomes another pattern. It's going to come out again. So it's going to come out, we're still angry and we're lying and saying, we're fine, we're fine, we're fine, through our teeth. Now, if we let ourselves have the reaction and we have an awareness of like, do I want this to continue?
Yeah.
Do I want to increase the momentum? Do I want to focus my energy on it? That's the part where we have to look at that.
Yeah.
And the first step is awareness, right? So if I get upset and I push back on something, my hope is that an individual has done enough work and enough self-awareness, they can say, ooh, I can keep going, or I can acknowledge what it is and take a breath
Yeah.
and let it go. And if I can do that, I can let the feeling wash over me. I might even tear up in public, and then I'm back to smiling and happy and that feeling of unconditional love because I just
Yeah.
want to let it all go as fast as possible, which means if I feel something, I got to feel it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. And you know what? You're if I hear you correctly, you're saying more of look, it's going to happen. The sooner we can get past it, the better it is. Beware though that if it lingers too long, it can almost get to a point where it's toxic. Wouldn't you say that
It
if
becomes an
it's
addiction. It becomes an
an
addiction. So
addiction? Oh, that's
the
interesting.
body, the body, we have our hormones.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if we look, and if you want to look up, if anyone here is want to look up Dr. Joe Dispenza, he's really a big thought leader. He's brought like law of attraction and vibration to a scientific level with brain scans, where if you don't think this stuff is real, he can say, actually, no, I can, this is your brain in gratitude. This is your brain in fear. So
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
guess
Yeah.
what? You're releasing hormones
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
now.
Exactly.
And what happens when we release a chemical in the body, whether it's us ourselves or whether supplementing, there's a factor of dependency.
Yeah.
So if we have a stress hormone, cortisol,
Right.
right? Anytime we feel stress or fear,
Yeah.
right, it's going to release these certain hormones that are the adrenaline rush when we're having a fight with our partner or going through a stressful situation where we have to muscle up to get through it, that
Yeah.
adrenaline. Our body, if it happens enough or at the same time every day, right? I think analogies that are used like driving, in our car every day, or walking in the office, or going into a meeting, or coming home to our partner. If we're used to having a certain reaction at the same times every day repeatedly, and we're not processing them, guess what? I could be laying in bed and the same time of day rolls around and I'm going to start having a panic attack
Mhm.
because my body's used to that hit
Right.
of whatever emotion is going on,
Yeah.
and it thinks something is wrong because our body wants to stay level. Well, if the new level is high anxiety, sweating, heart racing,
Yeah.
it's going to look for a reason to produce those hormones again. And if it can't find it, it will do it anyway sometimes. And that's where you get it's really systemic, right?
Yeah. No,
It becomes, it never
yeah.
stops. And all of a sudden, if you're the first person I talk to and I'm feeling that way, all of a sudden I'm going to wait for you to slip up and I'm going to say, you're the reason.
To find it. Yeah.
And that's an addiction. And we have to really work at changing that pattern. So I definitely got inspired. So I hope I answered that question without going too
No,
deep.
it is because, like you said at the beginning, we're going into some deeper levels here because, yes, you're right. Our bodies produce what we need for that moment. And I think unless we're familiar with it, it might be abnormal so often that it becomes normal. And
Right. We're in survival mode.
yeah, it's a survival. And it's funny because I hear this a lot where, it's a fight or flight. Well, there's a third, it's actually standing still. Like you're just kind of standing still. And it's funny because, well, I was reading this one book and he talks about how it becomes a little more animal instinct for us
Mm-hmm.
to like, okay, ooh, I'm just gonna hide over here in still mode to make sure nobody else sees me. And that's what we see in the, nature, in the wild, where the predator is looking and the prey is like, oh, let me just kind of hide, out of sight. But yeah, whether it's a fight, yeah, the adrenaline's gonna pump, or whether it's a flight, well, again, all the
Adrenaline's going to
extremities,
pump. Yeah.
it's gonna pump in a different direction, like let's get out of here. And I think that is something we don't necessarily give enough credence to because it's like, well, wait a minute, what's causing this? What's triggering this? Where does it stem from? So going back to when we're in a relationship, right? Especially, our partner is going to say something that's going to get us upset. How we handle it, you know. But again, building on what you're saying, if it's so systemic that we're so used to operating at this level because it seems to happen so often, well, if we're not dealing with it, it goes back to those underlying emotions that are maybe become a little toxic to
Yeah.
say, hey, is this helpful? And so I guess what are some tools that, or, what's kind of a general exercise, Anthony, that you kind of bring your clients to when it comes to that? Like, what is something that they can start working on right away to help
Well,
them?
that's a lot to unpack. So it all depends on the situation, right? So I would like to get like an idea. So are we going to stick with the relationship idea? Like
Yeah,
I'm
let's
in a
just say with the
conversation.
relationship idea, or you know what, better yet, let's look at finances. So let's say, they're stressed on the
Mm,
financial level, right? Because that can cloud judgment on what decision do I make? What do I do? What don't I do? Right. And if we're always tight in finances, some of us say, hey, you know what, just forget it. I'm just going to go buy. I'm just going to go splurge. Or the other ones are like, I can't do anything, so looking at just finances, what are some things that you encourage?
so so going on the route of like, when they start withholding, right? I don't have enough right now, so I'm not going to invest. And it's interesting you asked the question because I obviously have clients that like they want to hire me, they plan to hire me, and then they ghost, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
might not find out for 2 or 3 weeks. Well, it was about money, and they don't even know what I charge yet.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty evident, right? So the idea that what is really being triggered, right? If I'm afraid to spend this money on something, where else am I afraid in my life?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's also creating an impact,
Yeah.
right? So there's fear of what? There's actual fear of death, which science again is proving lately that that's the only real fear that exists, is
Mm-hmm.
fear of death. Like I'm being chased by an animal and my DNA is telling me to get away, or there's a car that's coming at me and I'm going to instinctually, without even thinking, jump out of the way in a split second, right? Well, guess what happens when that actually happens? Your body is completely calm when it's that complete instinct, right? So our body takes care of us in the real fear,
Mm-hmm.
in real life and death situations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone points a gun at me in my life, it's happened. I didn't freak out at all, right? I got 100% present
Mm-hmm.
and in the moment because this is real. I need to be focused.
Yeah.
And if I get scared, I'm going to be unfocused and do something crazy and get hurt. So
Right.
back to the money piece is that we often bring that fear into our finances.
Mm-hmm.
But what are we really afraid of? It's uncomfortability, right? It's comfort. We're going to lose our comfort.
Mm-hmm.
We're afraid of being judged, afraid of asking for help,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what we do is start closing ourselves off
Mm-hmm.
to all the abundance around us and all the other support factors that are already out there that are, and also when we do that, we also close stuff off to figuring out ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's the big piece, right? So that's the worst part of fear, is that the part that's not real, that manifests when we're afraid of being awkward or having some losses when we're not going to die.
Yeah.
We then make excuses to not spend the money at all. Well, here's what actually happens. All of a sudden, I won't be spending money on other things that I actually need. Now I'm going to the gas pump and thinking about how little money I have to put gas in my car. I'm now creating a worse problem.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, I could have plenty of money, and I'm thinking and feeling that I have none, and then we wonder why we lose it. Something catastrophic happens. So we're manifesting the fear because we've been out of money or had a lack at some point in our life, right? And we're bringing it forward to the present,
Yeah.
and therefore we're praying it into existence. And guess what? We actually end up with less money in the future than we do right now when we're afraid of our money situation. So that's a big thing to unpack, right? It's all about limiting beliefs, and it's about forgetting that we actually are an unlimited person. I had a prospect the other day. He's really worried about money, right? And her partner had planned to spend the money to invest in me coaching this during the holiday season. And it came around and that partner spent the money.
Oh,
Spent the money, right?
unbeknownst to.
Unbeknownst to my
Ooh.
prospect, who's been ready to hire me for 3 months and was waiting for the holiday season when they had vacation time to get a lot of the work done up front that we're going to do, which is mostly on the mindset before we did the business stuff. So we wanted to prepare for this. Well, guess what that triggered? Her to say, I have a black and white way of looking at things. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't believe in debt. I don't believe in debt. I have this story I'm going to tell you, Anthony, from when I was a child, and I saw my parents go through this, and I went this. I'm like, great. So that was a limiting belief, right? So it was served her when she was younger.
Yeah.
And now that she's older, the idea of putting an investment that she's going to write off on credit to her triggered fear of everything that happened when she was in high school. Has nothing to do with right now. She's got a great job. He's got a great job. They're doing well. They're doing fine. But the idea of it not coming from this tucked away, safe spot triggered all this fear. And then what am I hearing? It's COVID, it's my job, it's my husband. What can I do to fix this? And I had to keep reminding this person, it's about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's about you. Do you want to get it out of the way, or want to keep causing to have problems? So really went off on a tangent there. I don't know if I even answered your question.
No, I think no, I think you did, because it's just it goes into a depth, and you're right. It really depends on where the person's coming from. I mean, because although you and I can communicate at this level, we still have different backgrounds, you know.
Absolutely.
We still have different things, and you know, we're not fully aware of all the triggers that you know it could take, and it can come at any time, right? It can happen at any time. I think, and you had touched on this earlier, where if we can be more receiving to it, then it almost just kind of like flows through us and flows right out. And I think it's harder because when I see this in, you know, sometimes my children, friends, family, it's more they close off, and being closed, I think can present a dangerous type of atmosphere. It can create a different type of situation than what we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes across very opposite, like, well, that's not what I meant. Well, that's the way it's coming across. Well, then that's why I shut down. Okay, well, when you shut down, this is what it translates. So it's harder, I think, because you want somebody that cares enough to say, or at least put it in a good light, you know, to your point earlier. And it's like, well, who can we trust? And if we're back in that time, in this example, in high school, Well, I remember not being able to trust anyone. That's why I had to figure it out. And because I figured out that's who I know I can trust. And right now, I'm not so confident in what I'm going to do next that I'm not going to trust anybody yet. And it's like,
Exactly.
wow, it's a domino. It's a
It's a
domino.
closing up. So there's so many things going on, right? We can
Yeah.
talk about it on any level, right? The monkey brain is doing something. The lizard brain, the heart chakra
Yeah.
is closing itself off, which makes
Yeah.
us start to cave in and close up, which brings us more problems, and
Yeah.
we become fixed on reality.
Yeah.
We become fixed on what I can see, what I can smell, what I can touch. I know I can't do this because of what's happening in front of me.
Yeah.
All of a sudden we have a fixed mindset and we stop growing until
Yeah.
we have a breakdown until someone forces us to do it with a spiritual crisis, a relationship crisis, a financial crisis, where we finally go, enough.
Yeah.
I give up.
Yeah.
I'm going to do whatever it takes. And all of a sudden that fail until we succeed thing kicks in.
Well, this is where it becomes a little bit of we're walking irony sometimes, because you had said that we're unlimited. And,
Yes.
I think, our God-given ability is to do more, but we put limits. And that, I think, goes back to the physiological collision we have, with all of the, what the body starts to secrete, right? It goes from, I've had this situation where I'm on an adrenaline dump, which is high, but then my body's like, we're not going anywhere. And I mean, it can create inside, it's off, and then that goes back to, okay, if we truly believe, what we put our mind to, we can achieve. Well, then wait a minute, why is it that we keep limiting ourselves? So that's where an inner struggle, I think, needs to be addressed.
Yeah, it's all to avoid uncomfortability, because
Yeah.
again, like I said, if I say that I'm afraid of something is going to happen to you, it's about death. That makes more sense. But we don't really walk around with that all the time. We keep
No.
saying we're afraid of things when it's actually we don't want to get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's what's new
Yeah.
versus unfamiliar. If it's familiar, guess what? We can be comfortable being sick and unhappy, and that feels safer. So when we have that pattern and those hormones kicking in, when we do the one thing that completely could change our life in 24 hours or less,
Yeah.
that is the scariest thing we're ever going to come up front. And that's when you see people on stage, they say, I finally got it when I had to. It's much
Right.
harder to say, you know what? I am no longer willing to feel and be this way. I realize that my personal reality is because of my personal reality. I have to change myself. And
Yeah.
then when we step forward, it is the scariest moment in our life. And once we do that, we realize the illusion, and we realize that fear and excitement are the same dang thing.
Yeah. You're right. It's fear. And it goes back to what we had said one point where, okay, it's one thing to be afraid, but are you in danger?
Right. And
And
that's where part, I think you asked me the particular question before, and now I have the answer for that, because now it's more specific.
okay.
How do you stop that from happening? When you're in the moment, you're in the fight, you're in the argument with the partner, and you're like, unconditional love, I love you, I love you, I love you, but they're coming at you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And we start to notice we're either we feel the trigger, or we've already spouted off,
Yeah.
right? Slow down,
Yeah. Slow down.
take a breath,
Mm-hmm.
use a safe word, right? I've had a safe word before with a partner, pickle, right? When I say pickle, that means I love you, I care about you, I'm not blowing you off, I am too triggered for us to meet in the middle.
Yeah.
I need to walk, I'm going to take care of myself right now.
Yeah. And it's, I think that's
And I'm
important.
going to come back to this.
Right.
When we can both do it in a good way. And I
Right.
love you. And I'm going to walk away, because the other person is still, you don't walk away from me. Right. And what do we want to do? We want to fight.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's not good. If we're both in beta, which is that fight or flight response, right?
Yeah.
No agreement will ever be made. No agreement
Right.
will ever be made until one person, what happens normally, we think that we make an agreement, we don't. What happens is one person runs out of steam.
Yeah.
And the other person gets bigger.
Right.
And then this person submits. Oh, I get it. The epiphany. Oh, you're right. I surrender. Or we make a resolution. This person's like, yeah, I finally got what I want. Nothing was resolved.
No, it's just a power play. And then
And we don't even know it.
Yeah. Is that healthy? Because you would hope that Yeah, you're right. I totally agree where you have to get to a point where, okay, hey, I need a moment. I'm gonna take a step back. I just need to take a step back. I need a breather. And
I
that's
need my heart
okay.
rate to get normal, right?
Or
know?
you want the settings to go back to level, and that sometimes it does require, and I think that's okay because there's an awareness that, hey, if we keep going down this road, it can be a collision and things can happen that shouldn't happen, that it's okay to be mindful. It's if
It's
we get,
actually stronger to walk away.
yeah,
That takes more
it can,
courage to say,
it can
we're
be,
going to stop now.
yeah.
Where I think in most of my life, I thought, well, no, based on my mother and my father and my step, like all the things I observed, I had, and I won't go into my story because we can't do it right now. We got to finish up in a second here.
Yep.
I learned that if I walk away, that means I don't love you.
Mm-hmm.
If you walk away from me, that means you don't love me. So
Mm-hmm.
guess what? My behavior when I needed to walk away was altered. I wouldn't walk away. I keep fighting because that meant I care,
Right.
right? And when you
Yeah.
walked away, how dare you? That
Yeah.
see, I know you don't care because I learned that by my
Yeah.
observation,
Yeah.
and that's not reality.
No, that's not, yeah, and you're right. That's a big one because I think that happens a lot, and we see it growing
What?
up, and we think like, oh, okay, so that's how we handle things. So it goes back to a lot of, reconditioning, which is okay. And I think right now that's what's going on, in this huge pandemic. We're reassessing, we're reevaluating a lot of things, and I think that's part of it. And it's creating an awareness. Okay, with this awareness, what do we do?
Yeah. Well, that part's the gift, right? Everything
Yeah,
there's a challenge in our life.
right.
If we look at it as an adversity, then that's a problem. We close off, and I can't overcome my reality. I'm no longer a spiritual being. I'm only a physical being. But if we see everything as a gift, i.e., people don't like to hear this, right? But COVID, on some levels, has been a huge gift for
Yeah,
us
yeah.
because it's making us wake up. We're being
Hmm.
forced on that hero's journey that we didn't want to go on to do
Hmm.
that work. Now we have to.
Hmm.
Now we have to. So yes, we have a critical mass around the world for once, where we're all going through it at the same time versus your country,
Yeah,
my country, which
right.
creates more disconnection. It's you and me. No, we're all in this
Right,
together.
right. It's
We
it's like
might as well start thinking the same,
an
or
emotional
else we're gonna,
reset.
yeah,
It's an emotional reset. That button was reset
yeah.
across the board. So now we're all in the same boat. Like you said, what are we gonna do from here? You know?
Yeah. I think the very first conversation you and I had a couple of months ago when we were connected, we were talking about the idea of like, there's an 80-20%, right? Some people are breaking through
Yeah,
because they're suffering at home alone and they've
yeah,
lost everything.
yeah,
Some people are burying their head in the sand,
yeah.
waiting for it to pass. And has it passed? No, it hasn't.
Mhm.
And some people are going to wait for it to be over.
Right.
And guess what? They're going to go right back to blaming someone else
Yeah.
and
And
some
that's
other
if it's gonna
thing.
be over. That's the thing is like, is this gonna be over? I
Right.
mean,
They're going to keep finding problems whether they want to or not.
right. Yeah. And that's unfortunate. But then again, that's the whole point of this is for us to help and to encourage to say, hey, it's not about a select people that understand this. No, it's about, hey, all of us identifying there's certain deficiencies, and that's okay. It's not bad. It's understanding more about ourselves and maybe at the same time understanding who we can trust, to talk about this because I want to grow, right? You want to grow. Well, who can we trust
Yeah.
in that growth? And we hope, by working on ourselves, we start to attract like-minded individuals that are genuinely caring and want us to grow because they want to grow too. It's really interesting, but those are the things that we don't learn in school or learn in business, is it?
No, because everything is about when we teach something, usually,
Uh-huh.
because it usually comes from the egoic mind, it's all about protecting you from what I went through.
Right, right, right. Yeah, we inject our perceptions or our past or our histories, and again, that's another trigger. So it's like,
Yeah.
wait, it has nothing to do with us, but because we witnessed it in someone else or someone we care about, it triggers something in us. Like, there's a lot going on.
It's always coming from within me.
Yeah,
But, we talk about what comes out of this stuff, right? Wayne Dyer is one of my favorites. He's always a favorite go-to, and I've been using this analogy a lot, right? So what's inside an orange? Orange juice, right?
yeah, yeah. Orange juice, okay.
So what comes out when you squeeze it?
Juice,
Juice. Well, why?
because that's what's in it.
Exactly. It's that simple.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But we don't ever want to believe it's that simple because it's easy. We think it's better to say, no, it came from you, Fernando.
Or yeah, and yes, I'm glad you brought that up, because it's like, okay, well, what do we fill our minds with? What do we fill our time with? And because what we fill our minds with, that's what we're going to project.
And it's
So
also filling our body, because
yeah,
today we're talking about how the body and the
yeah,
mind connection of that stuff. So yes, we feel our mind.
yeah,
It influences the way we behave. It
well,
also influences the way our body
yeah,
treats us.
yeah.
And cancer, heart disease, diabetes, we're being I,
Oh,
we
be
are an
careful,
animal.
Anthony.
We
Be
can
careful. The
handle.
FDA is going to come after us, man. This isn't
Yeah.
like FDA approved.
Well, so we talk about the stress hormone, right? Real quick.
Yeah,
That we all, so on some level, we're all animal, right? We talk about the animal thing,
yeah,
right? So yes, we can survive. We can, when we're being chased, when our life is actually in danger, when we
mhm,
want to save a child under the car and we're, a 4 foot tall woman, right?
yeah.
Our
Right,
body can become superhuman
right.
for a short period of time.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
can handle amazing things.
yeah,
When we keep dipping into that well every day, that stress hormone starts to tear us apart
yeah. It starts to wear on us. Sure, sure,
and
though.
exhaust. And then there's no animal, alive, human or animal, that can survive a constant state of stress. It will die.
Yeah,
And we seem to
right,
be willing to see that in nature, but when it comes to us, we take a pill, take a shot, right? We
right,
don't say, what are you thinking about all day, every day?
right,
I
right.
think we can definitely end there.
No, no, definitely, definitely. Well, real quick, I want to throw this in there in
Go
close.
for it.
I saw a meme, and it was Einstein apparently said this, that it's hard. I'm paraphrasing. It's hard to find a solution at the level the problem was created. I'm like,
Yes. That's exactly what I was talking about with the whole beta. If we're both in beta, we're never going to find a
no,
solution. You can't find the solution from the conflict. You have to get past the conflict, surrender, allow the
yeah,
things to pass through you. We're going full circle, right?
right,
Whatever I'm dealing with, accept it. Accept it. Don't fight against it.
right.
If I fight against it, I'm just going to have more fight.
Yeah, and that's, oh god, that's another. We'll have to do like a part two on this
We
one.
need to make a series out of make a separate series out of the series.
I,
We're getting the rabbit hole.
Yeah,
Awesome.
well, anyway, that's our time. That's our time. I think this was great. Again, we want this to be helpful and beneficial, and we're just average Joes here, but we at least spend some time going through some stuff. So we're not speaking just to speak. We've experienced some real things, but we're hoping that our experience can help benefit you and, bring some type of encouragement, right, Anthony? Some type of
Yes.
encouragement. But with
Get
that
you in
being
the realm
said,
of possibility. Yeah. Realm of
yeah.
possibility versus realm of stuck. We're going to be
Yeah,
fine with
yeah.
that.
Well,
Yeah.
what you hope
Yeah.
instead of helplessness.
Yeah. Perfect.
Well, anyway, we appreciate you tuning in. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you again. I'm Fernando with Almendares Insurance. Anthony,
Anthony Cortino with Be the Lead in Your Life Coaching.
we hope that you have a wonderful day, and until next time, y'all take care.